Hello, I'm Karl Palachuk. Welcome to the 50-week video series, The Cheeky Sales Coach. You know, sales is a very specific thing, and yet most of what you think about when you think about sales is actually marketing. So in this first video, we're going to start by talking about what is sales and what is not sales. Join me now for 50 weeks of the Cheeky Sales Coach. Let's start with the word of the day, asymptote. So in mathematics, an asymptote is a line, actually it's a curve, that follows a formula like this. And basically what happens is that when the line moves up this way, it gets very close to the y-intercept here and the x-intercept there, but they get closer and closer and closer, but they never touch. So if you follow that line out that way for 10 pages, the two would never touch. And then for a mile, they would get closer and closer and closer, but they would never touch. And then for 100 miles, and the closer and closer and closer, you could go all the way around the world, and those two lines would get closer and closer and closer, but they would never touch. Why do we care? Well, the difference between marketing and sales is that marketing is everything that happens before sales and occasionally after. Sales has a very specific definition. And sales and marketing are never the same thing. So what happens very often is you've got a marketing funnel that leads to a sales funnel. That's all cool. We're going to talk about funnels next week. But sales and marketing are absolutely not the same thing. And you need to be very aware of that because it affects many pieces of your business. Now, let's look at the difference between sales and marketing a little more closely. We need to maintain the distinction between sales and marketing simply because they do two very, very different things. At the end of the day, if you don't have sales, the size of your business will shrink. You're always going to have some attrition, whether it's because clients only wanted you for a short period of time, or they bought something else, or there's an alternative, or whatever. People sometimes just make different choices, which is cool, but they have to be replaced. So over time, you need to have new sales in order for your business to be successful. Let's define sales very precisely. Sales consists of asking people for their money. That's it. It's that easy. That's what sales are. Asking people for their money. So, a lot of the things that you think of as sales are actually marketing. What do I mean by that? Well, letterhead is not sales. Having a website is not sales. Now, you may have a sales page on your website, but I'll bet you don't. Very few of us actually have a website that says, buy now. Put in your money, put in your credit card, give us your money, right? So most of us, our website is not a sales tool. It is a marketing tool. Now, that's important because we get sold a lot of products that say, oh, you can make more sales by, and then they proceed to sell you marketing tools. And marketing tools are awesome, and you have to have them, and don't get me wrong, we're going to talk about marketing when we need to, when it butts up against sales, but it's not the same thing. If you do reputation management, that's marketing. Brand management, that's marketing. Name recognition, that's marketing. Right? But you can't take name recognition to the bank and ask for a loan because they will laugh at you, and that won't make you feel very good about yourself. You have to take money to the bank if you want to make a deposit. And that money comes from sales, not from marketing. So marketing brings in the customers. It gets you started with a conversation. It helps you begin the sales process. But marketing is not the same as sales. Now, let me show you exactly why this matters, because when you start talking about hiring somebody. Let's say that you want to hire somebody to help you with sales. Here's the biggest mistake and the most common thing that happens. They spend a month saying, oh, let me help you. We'll fix up this website and we'll get it all tuned up. Okay, so now you've paid them a month's worth of sales salary, but they haven't done any sales because they're fixing up the website. After that, they say, well, we need to get us a bunch of leads. So they go buy a bunch of leads and they start cleaning them and so forth. That's great. No sales have been made. And then they do a mailing and they ask people to get in touch and see if they want to have a conversation. And no sales have been made. And then they complain, well, these leads aren't very good. And then they complain that the script isn't very good. And one thing after another, month after month after month, no sales are made. If you just pick up the phone and call 10 people every day, you will have a new client by the end of the month. You just will. That's the way the world works. That's sales. So remember, there's a lot of stuff that you can do that is not sales, even though it makes sales possible. It makes it possible for you to have a funnel full of potential prospects. But marketing is not sales. So putting out an ad on Google that says, come to our website and get this free report, that's awesome. It's not sales. Okay? And the reason that you have to make this distinction is that you have to keep track of the money separately, because marketing is an expense. Marketing requires you to spend money. So money goes out, and what comes in? Brand management, brand recognition, right? That sort of good stuff comes in. And so marketing is useful and necessary. But it is when you ask someone for their money, that's when sales happens. And so you need to keep track of sales very precisely and very carefully, because every penny spent on sales needs to have a return on investment. Marketing cannot have a return on investment. So a lot of times you'll be sold tools like, oh, here, we'll refresh your website, or we'll help you make a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce. Great, awesome, amazing, all good stuff, don't get me wrong. Not sales. Sales happens when you ask people to give you their money in exchange for whatever it is you're selling. So this distinction is very, very important, because it's going to set the groundwork for many things that we do. So next time we're going to talk about funnels and how you can use them in your business. And believe me, there are funnels you don't want to use. So we're going to talk about the funnels that are good and the funnels that are bad, and the different kind of funnels that you have to have if you want to be successful in sales. Many of us have stereotypes about sales. We think in our brain about the sleazy car salesman, for example, or somebody who is intentionally trying to rip you off. There's a lot of, the sales funnel world that's all very automated. And so a lot of those people experience returns. So if you have a tolerance for returns, let's say that you have an online sales funnel and it's like trying to sell candy at the checkout counter. You get people who make an impulse buy. Well, it's hard to return that candy after you eat it, but in the online sales world, you just go to your credit card company and you say, reverse that charge, or you take advantage of somebody, click the button and say, I want to use your money back guarantee. And so there are certain sales techniques that result in high returns. If you don't like that, I know I don't like that, well, then you have to have different sales techniques that result in low returns. And so sales is related to lots of other things in your business, including, most importantly, how you choose to run your business. Ultimately, marketing consists of every single thing you do in your business. The way that you treat people, the way that you interact with people, and so forth. So your sales model needs to fit your marketing model. And so you can't have sleazy sales if you want to build a good reputation or build a relationship-based transaction. So how do you determine what is the right sales methods for you? You also may be, I don't know, afraid of sales calls. Or if you're like me, I hate making sales calls. I hate picking up the phone and asking somebody for their money. But I still make lots and lots of sales. So how do you do that in a way that's consistent with how you want to manage your business and your desires to either make or not make phone calls, make or not make online funnels? We have many, many opportunities today to make sales in ways that we did not have 10, 15, 20 years ago. And it becomes easier and easier all the time for people to engage in transactions. But again, do you want this to be a one-time transaction or a long-term relationship? That depends on your business model. So your sales has to be consistent with your business model. So one of the things we're going to do in this series is we're going to talk about the relationship between how you want to show up in the world and the way that you want to make sales. Because you need to make sales in a way that's consistent. And that way you're going to be a little happier and a little less frustrated, and your clients are going to be happier in the long run. So let me talk real quick about some of the sales methods that people tell me they don't like. People say, oh, I don't like the long sales letter. You know, the 7-page letter that you get in the U.S. mail that just goes on and on and on. But you know what? It is the single most effective sales approach that has ever been used in the history of the world. So it's kind of hard to argue with. Now, we try to replicate that online and we get a slightly different approach, because online it's easy to just click away, close the window, click on something else, go somewhere else. We also try to replicate that in email, which, as you know, way more than 99% of your email just gets deleted often without opening. And if it's considered spam, it's probably filtered off someplace and maybe not even seen. And then we try to replicate it on a website. So now you've got a website that scrolls on for the rest of your life, and at some point you just get bored and leave. So the way that these things are presented makes a difference. You need to be engaging, and you need to know exactly how you want that customer visitor experience to go. So it's really important that you treat sales as a conversation in which you get to tell some of your story, and then you need to listen for a while. And then you get to tell some more of your story, and then you get to listen for a while. And so we're going to talk about sales as a conversation as we move along. And sometimes that conversation needs to take place in 30 seconds. So it's not like every kind of sales is this, 12-month experience of trying to get somebody to give you their money. Sales takes many, many different forms, and we're going to look at all of them. Here's your homework. I want you to go into your QuickBooks or Sage or whatever you're using for your finance tool, and I want you to set up categories for sales and marketing that are different. And I want you to draw distinctions in your brain about the difference between sales and marketing. And that way, when you spend money, you'll know whether you should expect a return on investment. Marketing has a non-financial return on investment. Things like reputation. Okay, very important. But reputation doesn't pay the bills. So keep track of these things. Your LinkedIn subscription, marketing, right? Your letterhead, marketing. Your website, marketing. Tuning up your website, marketing. SEO, marketing. Advertising, for most of what you do, that advertising is actually marketing and not sales. And then very clearly define what you are spending on sales. Thanks for tuning into the first video in a 50-week series. I hope you liked it. If you didn't, please don't tell anyone. If you did like it, please share it and do all that happy stuff. If you have a question or would like me to address a specific topic in this sales series, please go to cheekysalescoach.com and fill out the form, and I will try to add that to the content that we have. I want this to be as usable as possible for you. And I will see you at cheekysalescoach.com.